Welcome back to Working Faith, where we take a spiritual approach to career success. I'm your host, Jalyn Isley, and today we're talking about teamwork. I'm excited to introduce Professor Dr. George Grant. Professor Dr. George Grant is known as a celebrity caring doctor and considered to be the Canadian authority in biofeedback, integrative and functional lifestyle, nutrition, toxicology, stress, and pain management. Professor Grant is also a global wellness ambassador, world-renowned researcher and expert in biofeedback, stress, anti-aging, and natural pain management. Professor Grant, welcome. I'm honored to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Jalyn. It's a pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Yes. And we also have a special guest with us today, Peter Wainberg, who is the founder of Freedom Land, Start Living Your Life. And he's going to join us a little bit later in the show to share how we can take a better approach to our spiritual well-being so we can consistently show up in our teams. So Peter, welcome to the show as well.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Awesome. All right, well, let's jump right into things. Professor Dr. Grant, this show is all about leveraging the spiritual principles of our faith to positively impact the workplace and grow our careers. But
Yes.
Tell us, let's start by you telling us a little bit about your own faith journey. We know you identify as Christian. What are the
Yes.
core principles of your faith that resonate most with you, and how have they shaped who you are today?
I was born, Jalyn, in a Christian family, and I was very fortunate to learn about Christianity since the time I was born. Unfortunately, when I was 18 years young, I lost my mom at age 45 years young from heart disease, blood pressure, and diabetes. And since then, if I did not have this Christian belief, I would have been a victim, somebody with no mom, and then lost my dad after that for 10 years after that. I had to take care of my sister, who is 10 years younger than me. Without this solid faith in Christianity, I would not survive this double trauma I had since I was 18 years young. So my belief in God and in Jesus helped me to go through this. I became a victor, not a victim, since that time. And I started to learn how can do here to prevent heart disease, diabetes, and blood pressure. See, that would lead me to study 3 bachelor's degree, 3 master's degree, and 3 doctorate degree, Jalyn, which is quite an accomplishment for somebody who lost their mom and dad. Without this foundation of Christianity, I would never done this, because I am 0. But when God is with me, I am 10 out of 10. You see, this is what I believe in every moment. When I wake up in the morning, when I open my eyes, until I sleep at night, I have God beside me and Jesus beside me. So you see, Jesus had 12 disciples. He taught us the principles of love and care. And you see, if we can just follow this, it doesn't matter whether you're Christian or Jewish or Buddha. If you can just follow this example of love, unconditional love is really the key here to live healthy, to beyond 100, even though if you had very bad genes. Like I'm 73 years young. I know I look younger. Thanks, Jalyn. But you see, it's not about that. It's all about following a healthy lifestyle. So you know what I tell people young like you, Jalyn, here? Love, learn, love, let go, laugh, and leave a legacy. And if you have a good spirituality, regardless of religion, see, people confuse spirituality with religion. But if you have a good, strong spirituality, in my case, it's my God, it's my Jesus, will help me. I would not survive the trauma at age 18. It's impossible. I'd have been going to drugs, like any other teenagers, or commit suicide. There's no hope. There's no hope here for somebody who's 18 to take care of his sister. Who's gonna feed us? Who is gonna take care of us? If I lost my mom and dad, but you know what? God is here. God had a plan for us, and here I am at 73. I'm just wishing for 27 more years to reach age 100 to help more people. I only have 25,000 clients, Jalyn. I only have 17,000 clients on LinkedIn. I'm helping hundreds, thousands of people here, and then helping people who had open heart surgery. And Peter's going to tell you his story. I helped somebody who had diabetes. It was in hopelessness for 12 years. Within 6 weeks, he has reversed his diabetes. He has reversed his amputation with the gods supporting him as well. So I only do not just teach how to prevent disease. I teach how to be focused on PMS, physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. And that is my story. I'm sorry if I go long-winded here.
No, it's important for us to understand how our spiritual beliefs actually shape our approach to our careers. And one of the things that I really appreciate about what you just said is simple is always better. And so if Jesus is modeling love to his disciples, and they were a team, they had to work together on a regular basis and communicate and collaborate on a regular basis. Talk to me about how this principle of love influences your approach to working with your team.
I learned from young age, age 1 or 2, to go to church and then to worship God, to pray. But like I was born in a Christian family, as I mentioned to you, but then I became a born-again Christian in one of the Billy Graham crusade. I committed myself again to Christ. Because there's a difference between born in a Christian home versus born-again Christian. To have full commitment as an adult to follow Jesus in every day. I don't go out and talk about Jesus like a minister or like somebody who was evangelist, but I can show by my example how to lead people to this spirituality.
Do you work on a team? Like how many people on your team?
Yes, 25,000 clients. And I don't just talk about here's the problem and here's the solution. I share with them my story also so they can ask me, how do I focus on balancing physical, mental, and spiritual well-being? I do this indirectly, Jalyn, because I don't want to sound like an evangelist. I don't want to be overbearing with people. So I share with them my belief. And then they ask me, I like what you do that, to be like you. So I tell them, you know what? You have to recommit your life as an adult back to whatever spiritual thing that you're following. Like I work with people who are not just Christian. I work with people with so many other, religion. But again, do not confuse religion with spirituality. This is really what I'm. Yeah, absolutely. So that's the answer. Very short answer to your question, Jalyn.
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate the emphasis that you place on demonstrating your spiritual principles as opposed to just talking about them. It's the demonstration that makes all the difference. And love is an action. It's not just a word. It is an action. And so you have to be able to demonstrate that in order to make impact, especially as it pertains to engaging with a team or engaging with clients. So that makes perfect sense. Thank you so much for sharing that. Has there been, can you provide like a concrete example of maybe a work challenge or opportunity in teamwork in which you had to rely on this principle of love to guide your behavior?
Yes, I actually helped with somebody by the name of Jim Grant from Texas. I did the scan for him, as you actually demonstrated for you. And then in the scan, it shows that he has clogged left ventricle. And then he told me, no. And my doctor told me, I have no blood pressure, I have no heart disease, I have no triglyceride, I'm fine. Little later, at Halloween, he had open heart surgery. And then by showing my example, my love again, he said, Dr. Grant, I wish I'd have listened to you before when you told me I have clogged left ventricle. And then he asked me, what do I do now? I said, okay, you do this. I showed him the steps. And then by showing that example of love, in fact, he committed his life to Christianity. And he followed now all my everything that I told him before and he ignored. It's just by living by example. It's really as simple as this. I can't tell you how grateful he is right now after the open heart surgery. And you're going to hear from my colleague, Peter Wainberg from Montreal, about his story also about open heart surgery. And he was very resistant initially when I told him about my recommendations. But little later, I was showing by love. He said, okay, I'll follow everything you're telling me. You're going to hear his story, and then he will tell you that. It's just the example of love. You have to show and to demonstrate love. Your love from Christ. It doesn't matter whether whatever spirituality, whatever religion you have, just demonstrate that. Live it, love it. That's what I do in every moment of my human being.
Yeah. And what really stood out to me about what you just shared there is that you do it in every moment, which means this has now become such a core habit of yours. It's just a natural response to the way that you interact with people. And that's what makes the difference and shows how you're growing in your spirituality.
Yes.
As well. Because and to your point, you're right. Like, it's not about religion. Spirituality is energy. What are you using to shape your energy?
Right on. That's what it's all about. It's your energy and vibration. In fact, Jalyn, when I told Jeremy Stone, who have diabetes from Kentucky, about this device here, he said, 15-second voice is going to give me 220 pages report. Why don't every doctor in America doing this? And he started to attack me. He actually told me, do you really have 3 doctorate degrees? Did you really work for the FDA and CDC and Health Canada? He started to actually attack me, and he said, this is not right. Until I actually did the scan, I show him the love for him that your diabetes is my family history. Listen to me. Until I show him that he has a problem with his shoulder. He said, what? How did you know this? I said, the device told me that. And then after I followed my advice, I said, Jeremy, I love you and I want to work with you. In 6 weeks, no diabetes and no amputation surgery, by showing the example of love.
I love it.
Love is the answer. And that's what Peter Wainberg, my colleague here, teaches. Love is the answer. And love is the key to all of. You see, it is not to see doctors give you medications, operation, radiation, amputations, and complications. It to see somebody, a physician or a doctor, who focusing on loving you and helping you. That is the key.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I want to bring your guest in now, Peter Wainberg. I want to hear from you. We have discussed at length this notion of spirituality being a core component of someone's wellness, even to the point where it impacts the way they show up in teamwork and supporting their clients. Peter, I know you have an amazing story. Share a little bit about that, and then let's talk about how you maintain your spiritual health and well-being.
Thank you, Jalyn. Before I get to my story, I think the biggest message I have in my company is that, when I graduated from school, I was confused about health, wealth, relationships, communication, goal setting. And so my mission now as a life coach specializing in heart health and self-love is to give people clarity, certainty, confidence, and competence about themselves. So we're bringing up a lot of big words here, wellness and spirituality. And these are the kinds of things that they don't really teach in school. So, I'd like to just, and I mentioned to you earlier, I had a 10-year CEO education, and the greatest speaker in our CEO education, I invested $200,000 in my 40s. I'm now 64. And Steve Snyder, who wrote a book called Focus, Passion, said, the human mind in its normal state can only do one thing. And when we're doing 2 things, he calls that stress. So I ask myself, and I share with my students, we're all trying to do too much. We're all trying to process too much. What's the one thing we could be doing to change everything? And so my life's work is based on teaching people the wholeness of who you are. And so I discovered along my journey that actually, I'll go back to my story. At the moment of death, so 7 years ago, I was at the emergency of the Montreal Heart Institute with a little bit of pressure on my chest. And as a fit 57-year-old multi-sport athlete, non-smoking, non-drinking, I turned to my father and I said, what could it be? I'm going to live forever. I'm never going to get sick. And the doctors told me, I'm born with heart disease. I need urgent major surgery. I have a couple of years left to live. And I was at the highest risk of having a heart attack. So here I am thinking I have my health and I'm at the edge of death. Now, that doesn't make any sense to me. And at that moment that the doctors tell me that, I said, I'm not ready to die yet. You see, what I really wanted was to start living my life. And that gave birth to my book, Start Living Your Life. So if you knew who you were and you know what life is, you see, you could start living your life. You are a soul living your life as a whole person, body, heart, mind, and spirit. Now, I've given that an acronym in my book. People smile when I say this, Bahamas, your body and heart and mind and spirit. So when you're thinking about your whole self, what I really want people to be thinking of your life on the inside and your life on the outside. So when we bring spirituality into the equation, it's this health, this wellness on the inside, but we also got to be thinking about the health and wellness on the outside. And so this beautiful thing called life to me is a journey. Life's greatest journey is from the head to the heart. It's all about discovering love for yourself. It's really loving other people where life begins. How do you love yourself? And how can you do that? I think the greatest wisdom is to set a goal. And so I was never a goal setter. And I Googled along my journey, 97% of people don't set goals. And I really struggled with that. And I think if we really wanted to bring some incredible spiritual energy to ourselves, we need to get on this journey of creating what they call SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, timely. So I think that the life of wellness on the outside is going to bring the life of wellness on the inside. So how do you actually get that spirituality going? You create a goal. I want my freedom. I want my health freedom. I want my financial freedom. And in order to do that, I'm going to explain how the love thing actually sets in. So we have two voices in our head. We have the voice of our mind, and of course, we have the voice of the soul. And so the voice of the soul is kind of quiet because we go through life, living our life through our minds. And so how are you going to bring that real spirituality in? So I learned this from Steve Snyder. He says, you turn down the volume on your mind and you turn up the volume on your soul. And what does your soul really want? Love, health, happiness, freedom. That's where we all got to be going. And so if you could just chant, I think Dr. Grant and I should have put on our t-shirts, we have a message of hope. It says, I want my freedom. And if you have that one goal in your life, I want my freedom, that's going to breed love and spirituality and Bahamas health, your body and your heart and your mind and your spirit. So if you set out and just go out and be different, be in the 3% of this planet who sets goals. And so I think the greatest thing that we can do to bring love into our life is to achieve our heart health. And so I know life is confusing and health is confusing. So I think that the greatest thing I've learned along my journey after having open heart surgery is awakening to this beautiful thing called life and start your journey to your heart health. And I think by setting a goal, and now I've got it down to one number. If we can get your LDL, your bad cholesterol down to 80, that's the magic number that your actually plaque starts reversing it. And you actually are on the journey to your health freedom and really loving yourself. And so if we could just awaken, have this mindset shift, everything happens between your ears. If you can actually turn down that volume on your mind and turn up the volume on your soul and ask your soul, what is it I really want? I really want my freedom. I really want my health. I really want to love myself unconditionally. And so that's going to really start your journey to this incredible journey of bringing this spiritual energy inside of you. So one goal, one word could change everything. That's kind of my thing. How could you do the one thing that could just resonate in your mind over and over again that will change everything? And so that's really my life's mission now, is to teach people about life and life's journey to their freedom and happiness. And it all begins with loving yourself.
I think that's great. And then, as it pertains to teamwork, the same concept applies. How do you apply this principle of love here? And then what's the one goal that you all can unite upon as a team? If you think about the spirit of a team and the heart of a team, what's that heart health look like? And when you've taken the time to invest in yourself and invest in your own health and spiritual well-being, well, now you can contribute effectively to that team environment and identify the heart of the team and identify what's that one goal that's going to keep that team moving forward in the most productive and healthiest way. So I think that is a great approach that we can apply in so many different areas, including our teamwork.
Yes.
So this is great. Thank you both so much for all of the gems that you shared today.
Thank you.
Professor Dr. Grant, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show. Peter, thank you so much for joining in on the conversation and helping us understand our own heart health and how that can contribute to the health of the team. And I'm looking forward to...
Jalyn, remember that the word team means together, everybody achieve more if we all love each other and collaborate with each other. Thank you. And we love you, Jalyn.
Yes, thank you so much. Tell us, before we wrap up here today, how can the audience stay connected with you, stay up to date on what you're doing? Can they find you on LinkedIn or?
Yes, they can find me on LinkedIn. And my profile there is my name, Professor Dr. George Grant. I have only 17,400 followers, and they can reach me at the academyofwellness.com. And if they actually email me at drgrantwellness@gmail.com and they mention Jalyn, then we're going to offer them half price of the virtual scan that everybody's skeptic about. And then you can tell them yourself how I did for you. And then you can tell them. Anyway, that's my...
Excellent. I'm so excited about that. Well, you all heard it. Follow him on LinkedIn, visit theacademyofwellness.com. And if you mention my name, Jalyn, that's spelled Jalyn, you will get half off on your own virtual scan and understand how you can start working on your own heart health. All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening to Working Faith. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. All the show notes, information about our guests, Professor Dr. Grant, as well as Peter Wainberg, will be in the show notes. And you can go there, submit your career questions, and then you can also reach out to us on workingfaith.com. Remember to subscribe, rate, and share the show with others. I'd love to hear your comments. You can engage with me directly by joining the Working Faith group on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening. We'll be back next week with more tips on how you can take a spiritual approach to your career success and work your faith. Good day.